Hello, friends. Welcome to Life After the PMP Exam. Today, we've got various things we're going to talk about. We got a number of questions in from our PMP certified graduates.
Hello, friends.
And one of the questions revolves around the new exam, which is going to be interesting to look at. Another question revolves around communication. And the last one is feedback from another of our students. So without much ado, I would like to say welcome. You know, communicating is a big topic right now because in this crazy COVID time, you find out that the project manager who used to communicate largely face-to-face is now faced with having to communicate virtually. Now, with that said, communications that used to happen face-to-face at random, sporadically, can no longer happen in that fluid dynamic motion. Communication that used to travel through osmosis, you're in the same room, everyone's having a discussion in different corners of the room, and you just absorb some of the communication like that to get up to speed with the project. That is not happening anymore. So we're facing lots of challenges as communicators. And you do know, according to the PMBOK guide, the project manager spends 70 to 90. In fact, they're more conservative. They say 90. Or is it the other way around? Should I say more liberal in giving 90% to communication? Other texts are more conservative and say 70 to 90, but PMBOK guide, they go 90. So it tells you that a lot of what the project manager does in the real world is really to communicate. Status reports, schedules, budgets, they are all communication vehicles in one way or another. Well, let's get started with the first question that came in from one of our friends via LinkedIn. Let's take a look at this first one. And this question is from Mesa. And it says, what to expect in an online exam nowadays? Obviously, Mesa may have taken her exam a long time ago. What to expect in an online exam nowadays? How different is it from the old exam center experience? So from this, I think Mesa is alluding to what happens when you take the exam at home versus when you take it in the test center. Well, Mesa, it hasn't changed. People still take the exam in test centers, but a lot of folks are now taking the exam at home. And honestly, there's not much difference to the content from what I'm hearing. You still get network diagram questions. You still get earned value questions. You get questions from all over the place. So the PMI isn't holding back on giving you content that you've been studying, like formula questions, network diagrams, maybe flowchart oriented questions. No, they're not holding back. So nothing has changed in the content, Mesa, and nothing truly has changed except one piece of the process, which is the mandatory break in the middle. You must break, well, it's not even the middle, to be honest. You must break at question 89, you know, and then you come back and face the remaining 111. That is now it's a mandatory stop, because some people don't take the break, but it's a mandatory stop. That is new. Now, with that said, Mesa, coming next year, starting January, and for those of you that saw the video I put up a few days ago, a preview to our online course for the new PMP exam. That exam, 2nd of January, is going to have significant changes, I would imagine. And those changes have been talked about on PMI's website in some of the forums there. So instead of it just being multiple choice, 4 options, choose one, you'll begin to see things like select all that apply. You begin to see drag and drop. You begin to see match questions where you interact a little bit more using the interface. You might even see, I don't know, videos, audio. That stuff seems to be coming down the pike for 2021. Now, don't get all excited, because I'm not excited. You know, someone might say, yeah, that sounds cool. Videos on the exam will make it more interesting. No, you're not there for interest. You're there to kill it. And videos and all this razzle dazzle stuff, it just puts you in a more situational type state. And the more situational it gets, the heavier it gets. So some people might have a different opinion, but I'm not giving an exam to make it interesting. You know what I would do? If I was going to change the configuration of the PMP exam, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'll make it practical. In fact, I want you to chat into me. How many of you would recommend your friends to my exam of project management? It already exists and it's already being used by companies. But how many of you would sign up for my version of a professional exam where, if I'm testing you, I'm not going to be asking you ABCD, WBS, scope baseline. No, I will ask you to do stuff. All right, create for me this artifact. No PMBOK guide, nothing in sight, create it from scratch. Or maybe allow you to do it open book and then ask you, refer to the PMBOK guide and create for me this artifact in Excel, in Word, on a blank piece of paper. That is how to test if people truly understand the concepts. And then get actors, people who could pretend, could mimic a real situation, and I'll put you in a room with them and they'll have questions and interactions and you will be interacting with them. That will be my ideal real world exam. And we already do stuff like this in classes that I hold for other companies. But talking about what is changing, Mesa, it's a great question. What is changing on the exam or what the exam will look like today? Honestly, like today, it's the same old, with the exception of the break. And Mesa, I'm not sure how long ago you took your exam, but when I took mine, there were no laminated sheets where you would write in a marker and couldn't clean it off or that kind of thing. No, that didn't exist, but that exists in some test centers today. All right, so what to expect in an online exam nowadays? You know, if you're taking the exam at home, you'd have a camera on you and very similar to what you do at Pearson or what you did at Prometric. If you took yours at Prometric, you'd have to behave yourself. No talking, no loud munching or well, no eating. Some people allow you to bring in a drink. From what I've heard, some proctors allow a drink of water. But honestly, it's business as usual. All right, let's see if we had any follow-on comments or questions from our friends. I do not see any follow-on comments. Those of you on YouTube, right now, if you got any questions that kind of mirror what is being asked or kind of piggyback on what is being asked, I'll be more than happy to take any questions you have about life after the PMP exam, about stuff that you're not really aware of in the world of the PMI. I'll be more than happy to take them. So I'm just going to chat in a quick hello to those of you who are watching. Okay, so if you got any questions, let me know. Let's go to our next question that came in here. And this next question is from Miriam, one of our students who blew up the exam. She did very well. Miriam, thanks for sending this in. Miriam says, has the change request cycle leading to defect discovery in quality control changed that much for the new version? Well, here's the funny thing, Miriam. The exam you took, the current exam, same thing. What do I mean by that? They are both based on, I don't know what's left of your book, Miriam, but this is what's left of mine, a little bit ragged and tattered on the edges, but your exam was based on the exact same book. So nothing has changed as far as defect discovery on the current exam, and nothing is going to significantly change on the new exam. Why? Let me show you why. Let's go to the whiteboard. Once in a while, we need to go back to the whiteboard, even as PMPs. So let's just do it. So here's the idea. This is just business as usual, all right? So you've got direct and managed project work, right? What happens? You create a deliverable. Okay, what happens when you create a deliverable in the real world? Well, what should happen is hopefully you've been doing some iterative quality control. But before that, you want to make sure you're doing some iterative quality assurance. So this deliverable, while it goes to control quality, you have some influence in the background. I'm just going to do this in a different color because it is not that explicit, but you have some sort of influence happening here. Okay, there's some sort of interchange here between this process and what we would call manage quality. And I'm making it a different color because it is largely unspoken. Why am I saying it's largely unspoken? Because you don't have any feedback showing explicitly in the PMBOK guide, but there is a feedback loop from here that goes in here. What is this? Quality control measurements. Remember? So what does this mean? There are two things to look out for here. As a project manager who is certified in your company, you want to make sure that while the deliverable is being produced, you are also optimizing your processes using managed quality. You're also optimizing your processes even after the deliverable has been checked. You're getting quality control measurements that can be further used to optimize the process even after production. So this is an iterative occurrence where you are creating the deliverable, you're checking the process. You do remember this, Miriam. I'm sure you remember this. So right here we have something that is process oriented more than anything else. This is process oriented. Check in the process. And we're talking about the process for manufacturing the deliverable, any process that the project concerns. All right, so right now I've taken the liberty to depart a little bit, right, from the data flows that are in here. And I want you to just think in a more pragmatic fashion. In the real world, we should not just produce deliverables, but we should be checking the process. All right, we should be checking the processes, and we should be improving the processes with this. Now, to go a step further, Miriam, to answer your question sufficiently, you do remember when you took the exam, from here, you would have something called verified, right, deliverables, right, deliverables. And this verified deliverable will then go to validate scope, okay, validate scope. And in validate scope, the hope is that you're going to end up getting an accepted deliverable at the end, because that's where your customer is going to review the deliverable. So you could find a defect anywhere, Miriam. Let's go back to Miriam's question for a quick second so that we can hone in to what she's actually asking here. So it says, has the change request cycle leading to defect discovery in quality control changed that much? So like I said, it's on the same PMBOK guide, but again, going back to the whiteboard, you can see that if you're going to discover a defect over here, you would. Nothing has changed. If you discover the defect, of course, you're going to get quality control measurements, which can better help you track those, okay? So let me draw you a cleaner version of this and make it very simple. Direct and manage project work gives you deliverables. Let me just do this without a box around it. Deliverables. Deliverables go to control quality. From control quality, you get verified deliverables. And these verified deliverables are going to validate scope. And from validate scope, you get your accepted deliverables. And those accepted deliverables, they're going to close project or phase. Okay? Now, bear this in mind. In the world of Agile, it's a huge departure from what is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5 in plan driven. In the world of Agile, you are not going to wait till you get here at the 99th hour before you check your deliverable. In fact, in progressive project management, they espouse that the control quality process should be happening every 24 hours. You know what we call it? We call it a daily stand-up meeting. So where the world's hybridized, predictive, and agile, you should be looking to optimize early defect discovery. So I want to discourage, actually, Miriam, the idea of thinking about control quality as being this big old lofty step towards the end or in the middle. No, this should be a daily occurrence. You want to get as much of your deliverable as possible to be able to make a decision as to whether you're on the right path. In other words, when you're constructing your project, think about the minimum viable product that you can deliver to add value to your customer, and at the same time, in a meaningful way, realize if you're on the right path or not. So that would be my advice to anyone who is looking at the PDCA cycle that maps really all this stuff in the PMBOK guide to PDCA. So plan would come first, but this would be the do. This would be the check. The act could be where you get a change request and it goes to perform integrated change control and all that jazz, you know. And why do I call it jazz? I call it jazz because if you're in the world of agile, all of that big old dog and pony show, it does not happen. You do know that the product owner is the interface between the business and what gets into the backlog. So honestly, in the world of agile, a lot has changed. Miriam, if you have not already done so, I want to encourage you to read the 6th edition again with a new pair of eyes. Now you've been through it, not the whole thing, just the perform integrated change control process and the integration introduction. Let me tell you where that is. So in integration, you know, you have the concepts, trends, tailoring, and considerations for Agile. I want you to read the considerations for Agile. They're quite helpful in seeing how you can hybridize. You know, predictive is great, Agile is great, but hybrid is where a lot of you are. You're not going to get full Agile, you're not going to get full predictive in many companies. This is on page 74. So it says, iterative and agile approaches promote the engagement of team members as local domain experts in integration management. The team members determine how plans and components should integrate. The expectations of the project manager, as noted in the key concepts for integration management, do not change in an adaptive environment, but control of the detailed product planning and delivery is delegated to the team. The project manager's focus is on building a collaborative decision-making environment, ensuring the team has the ability to what? Go read it, page 74. The team has the ability to do what? Open it up, you'll know what I'm going on about. But in the new world of, I don't know, whatever edition ends up coming out soon, there will not be many changes to what is done in predictive. It's been the same. It's been like this for eons. You know, it's just organized common sense in here. So it's not going to change. But as far as the world, the hybridized world, yes, things could be very different. Okay. Again, I want to remind you, if you're watching, you got questions, you're like, oh, there's my friend Mohannad. Thank you, Mohannad. How you doing? Mohannad said, I missed the pleasure of preparing for the PMP. So Mohannad, if you want to chat with me right now, you know, if you went to the group, you could actually get into this meeting. If you want to, there's a Zoom call going on, which is, of course, how I'm able to on YouTube. So if you wanted to join me in the Zoom, Mohannad, feel free to go into the group, get the information, join me if you got any questions. I'm going to be addressing your question shortly. But I want to say thank you to both Mesa and Miriam for asking those questions. Very, very good question. Okay. And the next question is, what does the future hold for meetings of the project manager? That is quite a substantial question. What does the future hold for the project manager, for meetings of the project manager? Let's take a look and see a few ideas of what the future could hold for the project manager. Now, before I bring this up, I want us to first of all consider it. Have there been any changes in your world of communications, of meetings? Think about it. What are the changes you're facing? Especially now during this crazy pandemic. You know, I thought I would show you this from the world of the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So I want to show you this for a quick second so you can think a little bit about it. So through the lens of the CDC, we talk about meetings. We can no longer meet face-to-face very much, but they share this, all right? So lowest risk, the lowest risk when it comes to meetings, virtual only activities, events and gatherings. More risk, smaller outdoor and in-person gatherings in which individuals from different households remain spaced at least 6 feet apart, where cloth face coverings, do not share objects, and come from the same local area, community, town, city, country. Then you've got higher risk, medium size, in-person gatherings that are adapted to allow individuals remain spaced at least 6 feet apart and with attendees coming from outside the local area. These are higher risk. So when your company says, we're not having meetings where people from the East Coast, same country, come over to West Coast, or from any other locale area, come over to where the headquarters is, that ain't gonna happen. That is a disposition a lot of companies have intelligently taken, because those are higher risk. And the highest risk, large, like the symposiums and the trade shows and things like that, large in-person gatherings where it is difficult for individuals to remain spaced at least 6 feet. Who's got 6 feet to spare in a symposium? The typical one, all like the big old gatherings the PMI used to have, all that stuff has gone online. So it's gone online for a reason. It's the highest risk. So these kinds of meetings, they are prohibited in most companies that have common sense. You know, they're prohibited. So I wanted to show you in my mind how the PM is affected by these decisions, not only regarding the lens of the CDC, but just by the mere fact that we cannot meet as frequently, as often, and as openly as we used to. So let's take a look. There are 7 key variables for PMs and teams that I identified. I call this the WICOM: workspaces, inspiration, collaboration, communication, administration, management, and meetings. These are the 7 challenges, but I want to focus on one of the challenges today, and I want to focus on meetings, just the meeting piece. So if you have a meeting with your team and you really want to get the best out of it, go with a webcam. Why do I say go with a webcam? Well, it has been proven by science, by the work of Professor Emeritus Albert Miriam, who conducted an experiment at UCLA. And he came to conclude that when we communicate, majority of the message is not the words, it's the body language. It's the tone of voice. That sounded rather gruff, like Pimpy. Where is Pimpy? I think he's been hidden these days. I think Holly did something to him. A number of people did a number on him. But jokes apart, my friends, when you communicate in a face-to-face setting, majority of the communications is going to be your body language. It's going to be your tone of voice. So for that reason, if you're having a meeting with your colleagues, you don't have the webcam, you are missing a massive 55% of the communication, because body language is 55% roughly. Okay, now tone of voice. is 38%. So your tone of voice is present if your webcam is off, your words are present, but your body language is not. So why get half of the message? Why not turn on the webcam? So that's what formed my opinion, that if you really want to get the best, you know, without hassling everyone, I'm not saying it has to be every meeting, but there's some meetings where this is important. And a few days ago, I was having a meeting with my client, and I was really irked that the funny old Google browser wouldn't let me share my webcam. And you know, I was telling them, I'm really sorry, I don't know what's going on. When I'm on Zoom, I can share my webcam right now with you folks on this Google Meet, whatever it's called. I couldn't do it, but it bothered me because I really wanted them to get the full communication. I could see them, I was getting their 100, but they were not getting mine. I did not like that. All right, the next point here, great tools make great meeting experiences. So a PMI's tech guide, if you will, to communicate and meet. I just want to encourage you, if your company has a poor view to using technology and using current tools to communicate, you might want to educate them. You might want to educate them, because this is one of the considerations we should have as project managers during COVID time. You need to do your research. You need to look, I don't want to sell nobody. I don't want to sell anything here, but I can tell you there are some web tools that are so horrendous. Don't do it. And there's some that are really, really great, because they give you the opportunity, as you'll see from Mohannad's comment when I get to it, but they give you the opportunity to interact and collaborate and get that full 100%. So great tools make for great meeting experiences. Don't use cheap tools. Some companies, they say, oh, just use the free phone tool, freewebconferencing.com or whatever they call it. Come on now. We've learned enough during COVID to know you should invest in great meeting tools. All right, go virtual, do it on a Zoom. Now, honestly, Zoom to me is one of the best, but there are other options. There are many other solutions. I would say if there's a meeting that you're used to holding, workshops, brainstorming sessions, collaborative sessions, why are you not doing it virtually with your camera on? We're going to talk about that in a few seconds. The next point I wanted you to think about is, remember, they are only human. Interaction is important. So why do I want project managers to meet virtually? COVID is crazy. It's draining. It's sucking the life out of people. It could be depressing. People who are used to just meeting their colleagues at work and having good interaction, good discussion. Now all that is reduced to nothing. It's affecting the mental health of people. And as a project manager, we need to be aware of these things so that we help our team members so they don't feel too isolated. You know what I mean? Some project managers need to step up to that realization and say, oh, poor old Jack, poor old Jane and Jill. They're used to our collaboration. Now they ain't got none of that. They're just all alone. And some of them, even worse, they don't even have family around. You know what I'm saying? So as a project manager, it's one of our duties to think about our team members. I was talking to Holly and Brittnee, our PMP champions from the past few weeks, and we talked about, you know what, we should have a happy hour, PMP happy hour. So take that back. I'm not saying get crazy on anything that will make you tipsy, but I'm just saying have a happy hour. It could just be, you know, just something. It could be water. It's all about the interaction. It's not about the drinks. It's not about the drinks. Okay, don't quote me to your company saying, oh, Phil said we should have a happy hour, so bring out the, you know what? No. All right. The last thing I want to tell you here is you need a coach. A lot of times we don't want to introduce these tools because we feel a little bit tired of having to coach people into how to use them. And you have some people, you need to train them for hours on end. Well, a lot of these companies that have these tools, they have webinars that you do not need to get involved in, that you can send your people for. So you send your people to learn, they learn, They get trained. You don't have to do it. Think about that. Okay. We're getting towards Mohannad's question now, or his contribution to this discussion. So Mohannad, I hope you're still there because I may ask you questions. So prepare double. This point is obvious. If you're having meetings and interactions in this crazy COVID time, you got to prepare double. Why? Because communication is harder across these mediums. So if there are slip ups or technical problems, technical issues, you really need to be thinking who's going to take over, who's going to have the ball. So on a platform like this, for example, I would hand over to someone as a co-host. So there will be not only the host, but a co-host, just in case you vanish, the meeting can keep going. And this is a big deal because now every minute counts. So imagine having 20, 30 people on a call, the organizer drops off, and then you've got half an hour of 30 people. Multiply that, you got 15 hours of company time you just blew. You don't want things like that to happen. All right. So that was Mohannad's segue to Mohannad's question and contributions. Let's see if our friend Mohannad is here still. I'm not sure if he's still here. I know it's past his bedtime. Oh, he is here. Okay, Mohannad, I see you. So let's share the little information that we got from Mohannad. This is rather interesting because this is real world. So Mohannad says, thank you very much, Mohannad, by the way. PMP, not up to a month old, get in there. But Mohannad says, people feel shy and don't turn on the camera for virtual meetings and training. Agile principle, face-to-face communication is the most efficient, not being applied, which leads to poor communication. So what he's saying is, from this pandemic time, he realizes that people are not taking this face-to-face communication and using it, obviously, because they can't. They're isolated. But he's saying, instead of people to turn the cameras on in the interactions he's seen, they haven't. He says, I have had coaching sessions as deliverables in my organization project, but the vendor didn't turn on the camera. That vendor needs to be, you know what? I didn't interact with them. People attended just to get high evaluation at the end of the year. The positive experience was with the Scrum Alliance. They forced us to turn on the camera. Okay, so I'll use the word encouraged. I'll use the word encouraged because it's like an oxymoron. If we're talking about Agile, one of the tenets of Agile is, Mohannad, you know what I mean? But I know what you mean, obviously. I'm only joking. So they made you, by virtue of probably committing to it, they asked you to turn on the camera. Mohannad says, I enjoyed networking with others with the Zoom breakout sessions. Very good. And Mohannad, we have those breakout sessions, not entirely everyone's turning on their camera, but we have breakout sessions in some of our classes now. But you're so right on the money that without the face-to-face, without turning on the webcam, you're missing a lot of the communication, and the instructors know this. Now, one of the reasons I ask people not to turn theirs on is I haven't asked them to sign any clause where their countenance is shown on videos. You know what I mean? And we have a lot of people in the class. So I tell them, turn it off because I ain't asked you to sign nothing. But if the Scrum Alliance has given you documentation that clarifies expectations and you are meant to turn on your camera for these sessions, it really helps, doesn't it? It helps. It helps the instructor know when you're lost. Another reason why people don't like to commit to the camera is it could show that even when Mohannad is talking, what am I doing? I'm reading my PMBOK guide. I'm multitasking. Some people are not being sincere. They do not want to commit to that 100% attention, fully focused and, you know, being there in the moment. Okay, so my friends, I believe that's all we've got from the questions that came in. So Mohannad, do you have any follow-on statements or comments before we round up? For those of you that have friends and family and people who are around you and want to get certified, I want to encourage you to send them to our website, pmsucceed.com, because it has come to my attention. The mad rush has begun, the mad rush to PMP exam success, because whenever the exam is about to change, what happens? People start rushing to get certified. So I want to encourage you to send them to our website. Training starts again for the 15th of August. So if you head on down to our website, which I'm showing you here, pmsucceed.com, they can sign up for our next course. That's right. Did start today. We kind of have an open day and an open week where they can come into meetings and just chill out for a bit. But the training in earnest, it starts on the 15th of August. There's the timetable. You can see all that information there. All right. So if that is something of interest to you or to your friends, family, colleagues, send them on down to pmsucceed.com. All right. I wish you all the very best in your PMP world after the PMP exam. Those of you getting ready for the exam, I wish you all the best as well. I really look forward to you joining these sessions in the future where you're not necessarily joining as someone in the preparation stage, but you're actually joining as someone who is PMP certified. All right. Thank you very much for joining, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. All the very best. Thank you to all our students, well, all our PMPs now who sent in the questions. Mohannad, Miriam, Mesa. That's funny. All your names begin with the letter M. Thank you for sending in the questions, and I look forward to more questions. If you have any questions you would like me to answer about life after the PMP exam, any question you have about project management, not related to the PMP necessarily, but just any question about vanilla flavored project management, life after the PMP exam, do send them in. You could send them to support@praizion.com, or you could put them right under this video, okay? Once again, thank you all. And Mohannad says, my mom keeps the laptop in a separate room for attending purposes. She is not listening. In fact, all my family. You mean they're listening to this boring video about life after the PMP exam? I'm joking. This is cool and it's interesting. All right, my friends, you take care and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye for now.